Alright, we are going to talk about slope-intercept form today. To start off right away, we are going to talk about example 1. Graph each of the following equation on the same grid. So remember from last sections, we talk about plugging the points in for x, and then you can figure out y. So in this case, I'm going to use the 0 for x, therefore y is going to be 0. If I use 1 for x, y is going to be 1. If I use 2 for x, that's y is going to be 2. So in the case of this equation, the order pair is going to be 0, 0, and that's going to be 1, 1, and then it's going to be 2, 2. And I want to plot that point for you right away. And then it's going to be 0, 0, 1, 1, and 2, 2. And then extend the points and draw the line. And I'm going to label that y equals x, and those are the points. Okay, then what we're going to do is we are going to do the second one, and I'm going to change the color so you guys can see. Eventually, we're going to come to a conclusion of something. So if I put in 0 for x, that's going to be just still 0. If I put in 1, that's going to be 2. If I put in 2 for the equation right here, that is going to be 4. And my order pair will be 0, 0, 1, 2, and 2, 4. I'm going to use the green to plot the line. So again, 0, 0, and then it's going to be 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 4. And that's going to be the line y equals 2x. Now on to the third line. The third line is y equals 3x. So when x equals 0, when you plug it in, that's going to be 0. Let me use a different color. 0. And that's going to be 0, 0. And then if you plug in 1, and that's going to be 3 times 1, that's going to be 3. And that's going to be 1, 3. Then if you plug in 2, that's going to be 2 times 3, 6. Last point is going to be 6. 2 times 3 is 6, and the points is 2, 6. And to graph that, that's going to be 0, 0, and 1, 3. And 2, 6. And connect them together. And that is going to label as y equals 3x. Once you graph the lines, I would like you to think about this. On the red line, the coefficient for x is 1. On the green line, the coefficient is 2. On the purple line, the coefficient is 3. And based on those information, if you can conclude the number seems gets bigger, and then it become more steeper. And that's exactly right what you are thinking. Now, if you look at some of the things that they say is a conclusion down the bottom that it says, for equation of form y equals mx, the coefficient m increases, the graph gets steeper. So you need to know that coefficient right here, y equals mx, the coefficient m increase, the graph gets steeper. And that is a very important concept, okay? And then the coefficient m affect how steep the coefficient affects how steep the line is. M is called, very important, the slope of the line. So for example number 2, we're going to do the same thing again. Compared to the very first, actually y equals x is the basic graph that we're going to base a lot of things on. And that's why sometimes you might hear they call it the parent graph. A parent graph means it's what that everything else is based on. Okay, so now again start with a 0, and then that's going to be 0, 0. Then if you plug in 1, that's going to be 1. That's going to be 1, comma 1. And then if you plug in 2, that's going to be 2, comma 2. Graphing the equations right now. It's going to be 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2. Draw the line in. And that is y equals x. On to the second line. If you plug in, and it's fraction, don't panic, okay? If you put in 0, it's still going to be 0. And that's going to be 0, comma 0. If you put in 1, it's going to be a half. It's okay. We can handle half. You just cut the box in half. So it's going to be half, 1, comma, half. Then if you plug in 2, 2 and the 2 cancel out. If you want me to write it out, look like this. So 2 and 2 cancel out. That will give you 1. So that's going to be 2, comma 1. Or half of 2 is 1. So 2, comma 1. So plot that. It's going to be 0, 0. And then you have 1, comma half. 1, comma half is right here. And then you have 2, comma 1. 2, comma 1. And notice your line is going to be like this. So I try to dot the line a little bit so I can actually see it, because the line actually has a pattern. So I can connect them easily. And that is the line y equals half x. Alright, on to the third line. Okay, third line, when you plug in 0 again, it's going to be 0. If you plug in 1, it's going to be 1/3. And if you plug in 2, it's going to be 2/3. Uh-oh, Miss Wiesma, how do you graph that? Don't worry. We are just going to cut the box into 2/3. Cut into 3 pieces and then take 2. So 2/3. All right. So the way it looks like it, let's make the box really big then you can see. So you have 0, 0, and then you have 1 and 1/3. So 1 and 1/3 is about like right here, a little bit lower than half. And then you have the next point going to be 2/3. So 2 and 2/3 is going to be right here, a little bit higher up. And think about it, if you pick 3, that's actually at 1. So I'm just going to put it right there just so, and then take 3 boxes to make it up to 1. So I'm going to just aim it that way. So I actually have an idea where all my lines is going. And then if you connect them, that will be the way you can see it. And that is going to be y equals 1/3 x. Okay, now if you look at this, you have 1, you have half, you have 1/3. So as the number gets larger, it's steeper, just like what we talked about before. The coefficient m increases, the graph gets steeper. So definitely 1 is going to be bigger than 1/3. So it gets steeper. Just so you guys remember that. They do like ask those kind of questions. Now with the example number 3, it's still a different type of situation. Now we are going to plug in 0 with the negative numbers. So let's take a look. So if you plug in 0, you will have 0. And the number is just 0, 0. If you plug in 1, it's going to be -1. That's going to be 1, -1. If you plug in 2, that's going to be -2. And the answer will be 2, -2. All right, so let's plot that. It's 0, 0, and 1, -1, 1, -1. And then 2, -2. And then it's going to be a little bit different direction compared to the normal. Would you like to dot though? Trying to connect the dots. And that equation is going to be y equals -x. 2. The next equation is y equals -2 x. So let's use a different color. So So if you plug in 0, it's going to be y equals -2 times 0. So that's going to be 0, 0. If you plug in 1, that's going to be 0 times, it's going to be 1 plug into 4x, that's going to be -2. So it's going to be 1, -2. Then the next one is going to be 2 goes in there, so it will be 2 for x. And the 2 plug into x is going to be -4. So answer 2, -4. Plug it in. Those are the x values going to go in. So that's going to be 0, 0. And that is going to be the next one, 1, 2, 1, -2, 2, -4, and therefore your equation, your line is going to look like this. That equation will be y equals -2x. So the third line is going to be the -1/2x. So let's plug in the numbers that the table gave us. If you plug in 0, it's going to still be 0. So the number is going to be 0, 0. Then if you plug in 1, that's going to be -1/2. So your point is going to be 1, -1/2. And then the third one is if you plug in the 2 in here, that is going to be 2 and 2 cancel out. So that's going to be -1. And the answer for that is going to be, if you plug in 2, you're going to get -1. Okay, let's plot them. Okay, so now the third lines, plotting them. So if you look at the number on the third line, it's going to be 0, 0. The next number is 1 and -1/2. 1 and -1/2 right here. And the next one is going to be 2, -1. 2, -1 be right here. And then that will be this way. Same direction. And eventually you will know. And connect all the dots. Connect all the dots. And the equation will be y equals -1/2x. Okay, so now let's take a look at the rules. Hey, how come the number is getting, it's just the opposite, Miss Wiesman. -2 is apparently smaller than -1/2, but it's more steeper. Okay, so yes, the rules are a little bit different, but there's one way to think it. Now, I want you guys to think about this. We learned absolute value before. And absolute value is the distance between the number you are given to 0. But when we talk about distance, distance is always positive. So let's take a look at the situation here. Okay, rule graphs of y equals mx. Give an equation of the form y equals mx. The graph of the equation is a line passing through the origin. And that is very important. It will always pass through the origin, which is 0, 0. And have the following characteristics. 1. If m is bigger than 0, slope is positive. The graph is a line that slants uphill this way from left to right. M is less than 0, slope is negative. The graph is a line that slants downhill from left to right. Slant downhill. You guys have to know that. The next one is going to be the greater the absolute value m, the steeper the line. So we are using absolute value to make the rule true. So let's go back up and look at the absolute value. So if you look at the absolute value of -2, that's 2. If you look at absolute value of -1, that's the slope, that's 1. If you look at the absolute value of -1 over 2, that's 1 over 2. So therefore, 2 is the biggest number so it is the steepest. I hope that explains everything on the steepness of the line. And now there's 2 questions for you, and then it's your turn. Please pause your video and answer it, and you can check your answer. Your turn answer is as follows. So moving on to the next thing. Graph equation in slope-intercept form. Slope determines the incline of the line. Definition of slope: the ratio of a vertical change this way between 2 points on a line 2, that is your colon, to the horizontal change between those points, left and right. So if you really want to, here's the ratio. If you want to written out in words, it's going to be up or down. Over left or right. That's the ratio you are talking about. So going on to the next thing. Procedure on graphing equation in a slope-intercept form. To graph an equation in slope-intercept form, that is right here. That is a slope-intercept form. And I need you guys to understand what is the form's name. So the reason for that is called slope-intercept form is because this m is the slope. And then B is the y-intercept. Eventually, we are going to have a whole bunch of different forms. I expect you guys to understand which form has what name because they are all represented in their equation. So you should not always just yell out any kind of names just to see you got one right. Okay, so now to graph an equation, 1, plot the y-intercept, 0, b. So in this case, the b is going to be the y-intercept. And also, if you guys trying to think about it, I came up with a little thing that says B for beginning. So B for beginning, that means that is the point where you're going to start. You always start y-intercept. 2, plot a second point by rising plot a second point by rising the number of units indicated by the numerator of the slope m. Then running the number of units indicated by the denominator of the slope. Plot a second point by rising the number of units indicated by the numerator of the slope m. Then running the number of units indicated by the denominator of the slope m. Rising, oh sorry, it's rise indicated by the numerator and running with the denominator. 3, draw a straight line through the 2 points. Usually I will want 3 points just to make sure you double check your points are done correctly. So when you graph anything for me, I expect to see 3 points. And please use a ID or use a ruler if you are doing it on paper. If you're using iPad, please use the straight line function. Example number 5. For the equation y equals 3x plus 2, determine the slope and the y-intercept. Then graph the equation. In this case, don't forget the equations. Y equals mx plus b. So therefore, m, which is slope, is going to be 3. And the y-intercept is 2. And then you are going to wondering, how can I make sure that's a fraction? Well, really easy. You just put over 1. And don't forget that's rise over run. So to graph this, B for beginning starts at 2. Y-intercept is always x and y. And the slope is going to be 3 over 1. So up 3, up and down first. 1, 2, 3, override 1. Up 3, override 1. And you also have to understand that up 3 over 1 can be also mean the same thing is negative 3 over negative 1 because negative become positive. So in that case, you can also go opposite direction, which is down 3 because negative 3, 1, 2, 3 over to the left 1, down 3 over 1. Okay, and then you can just connect them. And that will be your line. And that will be how you graph y equals 3x plus 2. Example 6. For the question 3x plus 4y equals 8. Determine the slope and the y-intercept, then graph the equation. Now, one important thing here is you have to remember this problem is not in a y equals mx plus b form. Y equals mx plus b form. So what we have to do is we need to change it. So like in chapter 2, we have to learn to move things around. You take the 3x plus 4y equals 8, and you are getting y by itself. Then that will be in your mx plus b form. And to do that is you are going to take the one that does not have a y and move it. So minus 3x on both sides. And you can have 4y equals, now you can always line them up like the mx plus b. So you can write the negative 3x first plus a. Then we're going to divide by 4, divide by 4, and divide by 4 on all of them. The reason I like to write it like that instead of having just divide by 4 on both sides is because that way it's less chance of forgetting the sign or anything like that. So if you have y equals negative 3 over 4x plus a over 4, that's plus 2, then you are in y equals mx plus b. And then if you have y equals mx plus b, your m is the number in the front of the x, and that is your m. Negative 3 over 4. And your b is the one that does not have x, so your b or y-intercept is positive 2. And that is how that problem is done, and we are going to graph it. And the graph it, I told you guys, the y-intercept is the b for beginning, and that is at 2. So here is 2, and then you will have negative 3 over 4. Negative 3 is go down 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you can also go the other way, is going to be 1, 2, 3, because it can be written this way. You can have it in negative 3 over 4, or you can have negative 3 over 4. The same thing is 3 over negative 4. All those numbers means the same thing as long as you only have one negative sign. So I can go the other way, which is go up 1, 2, 3, and to the left 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and the reason we do that is because that will give you more points to graph, and then you will be able to fit more points on the graph on the paper that we give you to make it easier looking graph. It will look easier too. It will be easier to graph, and it will look better in a straight line sense. There we go. That is problem number 6. Hi, I would like you guys to try number 7 and see, can you 1, move it into y equals mx plus b form. 2, find your slope and y-intercept, which is m and b. 3, graph the equation. You can pause it now and then check your answer. I will put the answer on the video for you. Here's the answer for number 7. The equation I got is 3 over 2x minus 3. And the reason that I want you guys to write it in all 3, division by all 3 of them, is because right here, I'm worried about you're going to screw up your sign right here. And that's because negative become positive. And right here, that's a positive negative equals a negative. So please try to remember when you divide everybody, you got to divide every single term. Okay, that's number 7. Number 8. Going to number 8 is a line with a slope of 5 cross the y-axis at the point 0, 3. Write the equation. So it's really simple because they already tell you the slope is also another word m, and y-axis at the point. So y-axis is going to be where the y-intercept is located. So this is B. And the equation you're going to use is y equals mx plus b as an equation. And therefore, you just plug them in. Y equals 5x plus 3. And that is your answer for number 8 when they say to write a equation of the line. Okay, because right here they are not telling you what kind of equation. This you can use slope-intercept form. We have a few other forms, and eventually we will tell you which form to use. Again, slope is 5, and y-intercept is positive 3, and that's why it's going to be y equals 5x plus 3. On to example number 9. I would like you guys to try it, and then you can check your answer. Please pause the video. The answer for this example 9, the question come out to be, the equation comes out to be y equals negative 3x minus 4. Going on to the next thing. Next thing is we are now going to find m, because m is not always giving it to you. There's other different forms they can give you m. So because of that, you need to know the different equation on how to figure out m. Depends on the situation they give you. So find the slope of the line giving 2 points. So this is the formula if they give you 2 points and they would want you to find the slope. So giving you 2 points, you can definitely find the slope. So here the procedure slope formula. Giving 2 points, x sub 1, that's called sub, S-U-B, sub 1, y sub 1, and x sub 2, y sub 2, where x2 and x1 does not equal to each other. The slope of the line connecting the 2 points is given by the formula slope m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I also told everybody it's not that big deal if you do y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. The important thing is y has to be on top and x has to be on the bottom. Rise and fall, up and down has to go first, which is y. Left and right is going to be x, so that's going to be on the bottom. And also, if you have something is a 0.1, you can always switch it to become 0.2. So it's really not that big of a deal. But however you like to memorize the formula, either one will work. Find the slope of the line connecting the given points. Okay, so you have this one is x1, this one is y1, this one is x sub 2, this one is y sub 2. And the equation for slope formula is going to be m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, or you can interchange y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. So I don't care which one you use, whatever you feel like it. Now, I want you guys, remember it's y minus y, x minus x. So do not screw it up and mix up the x and y. So that's going to be, I'm using the first formula, that's going to be 7 minus 5, and then negative 1 minus 3. And then when you simplify, that's going to be 2 over negative 4. And that's going to be negative 1 over 2. So in this case, your slope, or if you want to write it down, m equals negative 1 over 2, or you can put down the slope is negative 1 over 2 for 0.3 comma 5 and negative 1 comma 7. And I'm going to have you guys try the next problem, but I think we should try it together. The reason for that, this one is a little bit funky. So again, let's try the formula. The formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's the slope formula. Okay, and then that's going to be -4 minus a -4, and then 1 minus a -3. I like to make sure everything gets plugged in first before I do my math. Now this is negative become positive, so -4 plus 4 is 0. Negative become positive, that's going to be +4. So it's 0 over 4. Now if you put it in the calculator, that actually gives you the answer 0. So please simplify. If you stop right here, I will take points off. That means you did not simplify. So make sure you understand 0 over 4 is equal to 0. So this one actually have a 0 for the slope. And then when you have 0 for the slope, it's a line look like this. 0 slope is a horizontal line. Now if you don't believe me, you can graph it. So if you go on graphing, it's going to be -3 let's make it bigger. So it's going to be -3, and then it's going to be -4. And then you have 1 and -4. And you see that line is actually going horizontally. Okay, so when you have y right here equal to 0, your line is a horizontal line. And then you need to tell me the slope is 0 or m equals 0. And then down the bottom, I summarized it for you. Rule of 0 slope. When you have a 0 slope, 2 points with different x coordinates and same y coordinates, different x coordinates and same y coordinates, will form a line with a slope of 0. Horizontal line like I said. And the equation is y equal to c. Or if you can think about it, hey, where is the location of -4? Oh, -4 is in both places in the y position, x and y. So the equation just y equals -4, because the yellow part, if you guys can see it. Okay? Going on to the next example. I would like you guys to try this one. So you should be able to work out the slope. So if you want to pause it, I believe a lot of you guys would do would finish up to 7 over 0 and leave it because Miss Wiesman, there's nothing I can do. Wrong. Simplify this thing needs to be done till the very end and tell me this is undefined slope, and that means the line goes up and down. Undefined slope is going to be undefined slope means the line goes up and down. It's a vertical lines. Okay, so rule of undefined slope right here. And if you set 2 points with the same x coordinates and different y coordinates, will form a line with a slope that is undefined, a vertical line, and the equation equals x equals c. The reason for that, the y1 and the y2 are the one that changes number, but where is the c located? The c is located in the x. They are the same, and because they are the same, it's going to be in the x position, x equal to whatever the number you have in c. So in this case, looking at the problem before, your same number is in the x position, so your equation is going to be x equals 2. That's your equation of the line. And this is the same. It's a vertical line. It's undefined. All those things has to be put together, and you have to understand that. When I say what is undefined, you should say slope is undefined, and the lines goes up and down. It's a vertical line, and you should be able to tell me the equation of it. All those things you have to know. Okay, and that conclude the notes for 4.4. Thank you so much for watching.